Hello, and welcome
to Sort of the Story.
I'm Janey.
And I'm Max.
You are. And we are Janey and Max.
No.
This is the podcast where we sing a little song, we do a little dance, and we tell each other some fairy tales and folk tales and mythology and all sorts of stories.
We do a little dance, we make a little love, and we get down tonight.
We genuinely get down tonight. Now, tonight is actually 3:53 p.m. on a Sunday, so...
We get down at 3:53 p.m. on a Sunday.
They know how we do. We do that, and also you are here.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for showing up for our 3:53 p.m. get down.
It's 3:54 p.m. Those of you who just came in, we're closing the doors. You are late.
And this will be marked on your permanent record.
Yeah. So, speaking of permanent records, this podcast is not for children. If you try to listen to this podcast, we will write you up and send you to the principal. You are not allowed to be here.
And you'll have to have silent lunch for a week.
That actually is impossible to enforce.
You put them in a little box.
Yeah, that's impossible to enforce.
No, you put them in the box.
No. Guys, we don't condone putting children in boxes.
Could be fun for them.
Could be fun. It could be nice. Well, guys, welcome to episode 99.
99.
We are one away from our mythical episode 100.
Yeah, soon to be no longer mythical.
Oh my god.
But actual fact.
It's going to be set in reality. By the time you listen to this, we would have already recorded it. So,
yeah.
If you were there for the live recording, how'd you like it? Did you have fun? How'd you like my hair? I was doing anything with my hair.
Oh no, now you have to do anything with your hair.
I know, I'm going to shave it.
Oh, I'm going to get a haircut right before the thing. Not planned. I just happened to have a haircut right before the thing, and I'm really excited.
Not a planned haircut. She's going to walk in and scream and cut her hair. They're like, we'll move some appointments around if you'll stop screaming, ma'am.
I've hired someone to sneak up behind me at some point in the next couple of weeks with a pair of scissors and just chop all my hair off without me noticing.
I'm the one who answered that Craigslist ad, so prepare for me. Is it Craigslist?
Yeah. Where you list all of your unused, unwanted Craigs.
All of them are unused and unwanted. All of the Craigs. Well, guys, before we begin, we're going to get some business out of the way. Max is going to tell you about the Patreon. Go, Max, go.
Sure. Happy to. Anytime.
No.
I'll wait. We have a Patreon. We have a Patreon that you can join us at the $3 tier per month, where you get access to the Discord and also a bunch of extra fun, cool stuff.
And you're officially in Team Troll.
Team Troll. Or at $7 a month, you can get one full, whole-ass bonus episode every month, in addition to all of the things that the $3 tier offers. The link to our Patreon is in the show notes for this episode and every episode. If you'd like to join us, get a bunch of cool, fun stuff, bonuses, and also unlimited access to send us weird messages at any time.
And also, you get links to future live shows and Zoom calls and stuff like that.
Yeah, so...
If you were on the Discord before this episode, you would have gone to episode 100.
Yeah.
How fun.
So if you want to be a part of that in the future, join us on the Patreon. You can also send us an email at sortofthestory@gmail.com and follow us on our socials at sortofthestory on Instagram. We're also on Facebook for some reason. And TikTok. But those are all ways that you can get in touch with us. And also, if you're a listener and you're not quite sure about joining the Patreon, we are always open to hearing suggestions about things that you guys would like to have as part of the Patreon experience.
News to me that we care what they think.
So send us a message. Because we don't know what we're doing. What
Who
do you guys
knows?
want from us? What the fuck do you want from us?
Tell us how to live. I think, because we have the weird Facebook, right? That we don't understand why we have it, but it is there.
Well, I understand why we have it. It's because in order to have a creator account on Instagram, you have to have a parallel account on Facebook, which is stupid and bullshit. But Instagram is owned by Facebook now, so.
I guess that makes sense.
But it's stupid.
Now I'm thinking that maybe we should just have a bunch of weird accounts on things that make no sense for us to have. Like Pinterest. We should have a Sort of the Story Pinterest. We should have a Sort of the Story eBay. We should start selling little invisible spirits in bottles.
Oh, God. That's my favorite. I used to have a hobby of going on eBay and going to the supernatural and paranormal category on eBay and then searching for items that have already been sold and then sorting from price high to low. And that is a really great way to spend a Sunday afternoon if you're ever really bored. Just look at how, like, my favorite thing that I found was a little jar that had nothing apparently in it that sold for $10,000. And it was like, I captured a ghost inside of this jar, and for $10,000 you can have it. I don't know what kind of ghost it is, but it'll probably answer your wishes. So
there's a segment on the wonderful podcast Ghosted by Roz Hernandez, where she goes on eBay, and the section is called "The Dolls Are Living," and she just looks at haunted dolls and she reads their descriptions and she tells you how much they're going for, and then she asks her guests, like, would you buy them? Would you bring this one home? Are you gonna bid? And they're always like, no. What? And it's always very fun.
Yeah, really, the eBay supernatural and paranormal section is peak entertainment.
I think that Sort of the Story should have a section. Maybe that's what we'll do for like April 1st, is we have a whole eBay site where we sell invisible spirits.
That'd be good.
It might be fun.
That'd be really good.
Could be good. Okay. Well, Max, all that is fascinating and interesting, and you did a wonderful job. Do you want to just get into the stories today?
Yeah, tell me a goddamn story.
Okay, I got a little shorty cutie one, so I'm excited to tell you about it.
I got a pretty tiny little guy myself as well.
Guys, this might be a little shorty cutie episode, but that's okay, because our next episode is a live show, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, bye.
I'm excited for this little shoddy.
Little shoddy. The shoddy is going to get low. Oh, no. Low. Bring down your expectations.
Oh, no.
All right.
Someone should check on this shoddy.
The shoddy's too low. The shoddy needs to get high. So this is a story that I found in Tales of Superhuman Powers, 55 Traditional Stories from Around the World by
Dr. Chengavarag Zalka.
Our beautiful and wonderful and most favorite folklorist, Chengavarag Zalka. Truly, I think, the queen of folklore.
The patron saint of good time fairy tales.
Yes.
Great.
I'm going to make Chenga art. She's still alive and she's like our age, so that'll be odd and weird.
And we've never contacted her or reached out to her. She doesn't know who we are.
It's almost episode 100. How does she not know who we are yet?
Someone email her and tell her who we are.
We know whoever's listening knows her. Well, okay, so the thing about Chenga, and by this time, if you are a longtime listener of the podcast, you know all the facts about Chenga that we know. But if you're just tuning in, Dr. Chengavarag Zalka is, I believe, Hungarian. And she is a professional folklorist, and she has several books out. And she is so good at ethically sourcing her stories. She also is the person who, like, she reads them usually in Hungarian, and then she'll translate them into English. And her English is not only flawless, impeccable, but it is also so fucking funny and so nuanced and so clever. And everything about the way she writes just, like, speaks to you as a reader. It's just very good.
I love all of her analysis of folklore as well. And she did her thesis presentation for her doctorate on the interplay between tabletop role-playing games and folklore, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah. She's...
Oh my god, I have access to JSTOR now.
Yay!
Which means I could find it, maybe.
You can find her. She's gonna go read her thesis.
I am.
But... She's fantastic, and you should be on board with Chenga. You should buy all her books. They're fantastic.
She's coming out with a new one soon.
So good.
I follow her on the website formerly known as Twitter.
It's now X. Yeah.
And she's coming out with some cool stuff, and I'm really excited about it.
Very good. That's a reason to stay on X.
No.
So this is the book that she created, which is a compilation of tales of people with superhuman powers. And it's usually, like, it's broken up into, like, shape-shifting or flying or invisibility, and then she puts, like, I joke about this, but she puts their stats in the opening where it's like, what kind of powers, where did they get them from, like, and then she has, like, origin of the story, where did I first hear it. She sources it right there in the beginning. She puts, like, the age group that the story would best suit, and then she puts, like, a little preview of the moral of the story, and then at the end she writes her comments on why she chose this, what other versions say about the different, like, nuances in the story, and her little interpretations of what she read and then translated. And it's fantastic. So this one is Color-Changing Powers, I believe. And the title is The Queen of Many Colors.
A chameleon story.
A chameleon. By the way, go listen to my first bonus episode story, which I believe is about the color-changing chameleon god, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chameleon.
Chameleon. Okay. There once was a beautiful queen who could change the color of her face into 77 different shades.
All at once?
No, whenever she wanted to. She's just changing. She's a real tonks. She was raised a widow. No, she was not.
What?
She was a widow raising one son.
Okay.
And he was the heir to the throne, so she was just like the interim queen. When the young boy grew up, he went to his mother and he was like, Mom, I want to get married. It's time, and then I'm going to become queen. No, he's not. He said, it's time, and I want to become king. And she was like, oh my God, yes. Go with my blessing, son. Find the love of your life. I'm here for this journey. And then she said, quote, but remember this, I will not allow you to marry any woman unless they have the same power I do. If you bring a bride home, you'd better make sure she can change herself to 77 different colors. Otherwise, she'll be no daughter-in-law of mine. End quote.
This has real Jules from Cougar Town energy of like, of course I want you to be with someone you love, as long as they're exactly like me.
But they'll never replace me.
They'll never replace me.
So the prince set out with an army of soldiers and dozens of carriages that were packed with gold. And you might be thinking, why does he need all that to just go find a bride? Like, that seems like overkill, right? You're probably thinking that.
I was thinking it was probably dowry, but...
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't even for the dowry. He traveled far and wide. He paid so many people for information, and he was like, just take me to whoever you know. And he just searched and searched and searched. And he ran out of money and resources before he ever found a woman like his mom. So he had to go home.
But, like, you don't necessarily have to do that. Like, you could just be like, hey, have you heard of this? But you don't have to pay people for that necessarily.
Hey, Max? Wow. Max doesn't feel like giving back to the economy or paying people for their labor.
Not labor. If
valuable
you're like, hey,
information.
What's up? Have you met someone who is like this? And they're like, no. Then you're like, okay,
well,
goodbye.
It's also like travel fees and like ships and stuff like that. Like, they're going real far. So, but also you should pay people for their skills that they can offer you, which is information about magical women that can change
Not
their
a
face.
skill.
So that's a craft, Max.
No, it's not.
Knowing gossip. So he went back to his mother and he told her that he couldn't find this girl. And he was like, hey, could I maybe perhaps please marry a woman that, I don't know, I like? And she was like, no, go back out and try again.
Are you saying that you don't want to marry a woman who's just like your mother?
Rude.
I'm offended.
And her face turns like cherry red. He's like, okay, Mom, okay, I'm sorry. So she says, quote, my word is final. Either you marry a princess of many colors or you do not marry at all. End quote. So he's like, my mom is being so difficult.
Kind of seems like she just wants to stay queen.
I think so. That's what I genuinely think is happening. So he went out again with twice as many soldiers as before and 24 carts of gold. Before he had a dozen carts, now he has 24. Eventually, they pass by a cemetery, and the prince looks outside his carriage window, and he sees 4 men holding big sticks, and they're beating the crap out of an old man's corpse.
What the fuck?
That's when he gets out, and he's like, what the fuck? So he gets out of his carriage, and he's like, why are you beating the body of this old man? And they're like, oh, so this must look so weird to you. That's hilarious. No, this is all a big misunderstanding.
This is all a big understanding.
This is all a big misunderstanding. That's so funny. No, Your Highness. This man owes us money. And the prince is like, okay, but he's dead. And they're like, yeah, but he died before he could pay us. And beating him makes us feel better. That's a quote. Beating him makes us feel better is a quote in this book.
Jesus.
And so the prince is like, all right, please stop beating him with those sticks, because they immediately just went back to kicking the shit out of him. And he's like, give me that. No, stop it. This feels really wrong. And he's like, I'll pay his debt. All right, just leave his body alone. And they're like, you won't be able to afford his debt. And he's like, all those carts back there are filled with gold. And they're like, not enough. This guy owed us a bunch of money. And so he's like, I'll pay it. What is the price? And by the time he was finished paying them, he was completely out of gold. Which makes me wonder, should you have paid this man's debt? Who racks up this much debt? Criminals.
Yeah. Well,
Donald Trump's.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't have a whole lot of what's the word? I'm not very precious about the sanctity of the dead body.
Yeah.
just as like a concept.
Yeah.
Like, he's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feels like if it's making them feel better and they're willing to call it square, then maybe don't bankrupt your kingdom over it.
Would it change your mind if I told you that this old man had a pet dog? He was a big golden retriever, and he's sitting next to the man's grave that has been dug up, and he's crying real tears and whining as they kick the shit out of his master's corpse.
I would say adopt the dog. And
he's lying on the grave, and he has tears like that one dog that actually cried on the grave. Max looks swayed.
I would adopt the dog.
And let them continue to beat the shit out of his master in front of him. That's going to traumatize him.
His master's dead.
Yeah, but the dog now will be like, they're still beating up my master as you drag it away, and he tries to pull himself back to save his master.
The guy is dead. Like, if the dog stays there, the dog's gonna die of starvation.
You have to, that dog will be depressed anyway and die anyway. You're gonna have to bury that man so that the dog sees that his master's okay.
No.
Yeah. Max is saying no, but she's absolutely swayed.
I am not.
I can tell.
I am absolutely not. You're
and
mistaken.
On this day, her heart grew 3 sizes.
My heart is shrinking as we speak.
Okay, so now he's out of gold, right? But he is up 1 dog.
And a corpse that I guess he owns now.
Yeah, there's no dog. There is a corpse. So he sends his army home, and he sets off alone on foot. He's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go. We're just gonna see what happens. After a little while of walking, though, an old man rushes up and is like, whew, you're fast. Hi, hire me. And the prince is like, what? And he's like, hire me. I'll be your servant. And the prince is like, I can't hire anyone. I literally have no gold. I just gave it all to a corpse back there. And the old man's like, that's okay. I don't care. Whew, you're fast. The guy's like, he says, quote, hire me on goodwill anyway. I will serve you well, I promise. So the prince is like, I mean, okay. And so they take off together. And they walk down the road a bit, and towards evening, they come to an old, empty watchtower. And the old man says, stay here for a minute. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to prepare a place for you to sleep. So the prince stays on the road, and the old man enters the watchtower, which is a good thing he did, because the watchtower was not empty. The old man walked in confidently and saw that it was filled with demons.
Oh, demons!
Demons! They were lying in wait for a human to wander in so they could eat him. Demons eat humans.
Oh, rip to this old guy.
I know. No. The old man walked in, looked around, and said, hey, demons, come on out. I got something to tell you. You should go to that back room and lock yourself in. And they're like, why would we do that? And he's like, because I am traveling with, quote, a legendary hunter of demons and other nasty creatures, end quote.
This old man, in my mind, Shane Madej.
It's Shane Madej. Hello, demons. It's your boy, old man from the road.
We are notorious ghost hunters, and you better get the fuck out.
Please, Shane would walk in and be like, why don't you fucking rip my head off?
Kill me with your teeth.
If you dare. So this old man says, like, I'm traveling with one of the best demon hunters, and if you value your terrible little life, then you better not let him know that you're here. And the demons all, like, tuck their little pointy tails between their legs, and they start whining, and they're like, okay, bye, thanks for warning us. And they run to the back, and they huddle in a back room with the door locked. And that night, the prince sleeps like a baby, not knowing that there are demons right there in the closet.
Oh.
Yeah, they're scared. So they travel for a long time, for days and days, and the prince begins to lose faith in this mission. He's like, my mom I don't think she wants me to get married. Or maybe she's hitting on me. Maybe the punchline is she's the only woman like that. I don't know, old man. What do you think? And he's like, well, my name is Gerald, but also we'll talk about that later. The prince is like, where am I ever going to find a woman who can change her face color 77 times, who's not related to me? Where's that going to come from?
He's going to fall in love with a party clown who does face painting.
Oh, you guessed the ending. So the old man pats him on the back and is like, don't worry, because we've arrived in the place where your bride lives. And he's like, what? And the old man says, in this city, there's a maiden of many colors, but her father is a sorcerer, and he is trained in dark magic. However,
she's trained in rainbow magic.
Yeah. And you're just trained in white magic. Fucking white guy. However, the prince didn't need to be afraid because the old man would help him in any way he can. He's like, don't worry, I'm a capable guy. So the prince is, quote, happy, nervous, and excited all at the same time. And he goes straight up to the sorcerer and he says, I want to marry your daughter. Sight unseen. Thank you very much. And the sorcerer laughs and is like, okay, but before you do that, you have to complete 3 tasks. And if you can complete all 3, you can marry my daughter. But if you fail, I'll put your head on a pike and I'll wave it around.
And you'll be dead.
You'll be dead, but I'll beat the shit out of your corpse, and I know you hate that. And your dog will have to watch the whole thing. So
This poor dog.
I know, he's traumatized. So they come to this agreement, right? And the sorcerer holds up a pair of golden slippers. And he's like, will these fit me?
What?
He doesn't ask that. He holds up a pair of golden slippers. And he's like, I'm going to hide these golden slippers. And you are going to have to retrieve them within 1 day. Deal? And the prince is like, oh, okay. And so before the prince can blink his eyes, the slippers disappeared. And the prince barely had time to notice that the old man had also disappeared when, BAM! The slippers reappeared in the prince's hand. So there was a shocked silence, and then the prince awkwardly hands back the slippers to the sorcerer. And they're both, like, staring at each other, like both of their eyes are really wide. The prince is like, what the fuck? And the sorcerer's like, what the fuck? And the old man's like, whoa, what the fuck? Who did that?
That's a real, you want to see me run around the world in the blink of an eye, you want to see me do it again kind of thing.
Yeah. And so the sorcerer is like, what the hell just happened to me? And he starts, like, talking to his advisors. And meanwhile, the prince looks at the old man and he's like, how did you do that? What? And the old man...
I'm impossibly fast and strong.
And the old man shrugs and says, quote, I have a mantle that makes me invisible.
So...
What? Next question. He says, the sorcerer sent 7 devils to carry the slippers to an island out on the sea. I picked them up before they ever got there. End quote. And so it's like, oh, cool. Well, that's helpful. Thank you. So the sorcerer regains his composure and he holds up a golden knife and he says, this object is not going to be nearly so easy to find. And it disappears in the blink of an eye and then BAM! It reappears in the prince's hand. And the old man whispers in the prince's ear that devils had tried to take it to the other side of the glass mountains. The fools! But he had grabbed it before they could even get there. And the prince is like, dude, this is shocking. This is a shocking turn of events. And he hands back the knife and the sorcerer is like, okay, stop doing that. I'm kind of doing a whole evil thing up here and you're ruining my bit.
Could you, like, pretend to put in some effort?
Yeah. And stop looking so scared when you're clearly winning. So the sorcerer holds up a golden ring last, but BAM! It disappears from his hand and he's like, what the fuck? And then it reappears in the prince's hand. And he's like, I didn't even hide that one. Why? The old man says, I snatched it away from the devils right before they could feed it to a giant fish. But I like to think that they hadn't even started.
And then they hear another bam, and suddenly the sorcerer king has, like, a big silly mustache drawn on his face, and he's like, what the fuck?
And the prince is holding his giant silly underwear.
He's like, ah.
What a weird thing that's happening to me.
Oh, speedster jokes. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so the sorcerer scratched his head, and he, like, looked around for a bit, and then he was like, I mean, yeah, I guess you're better at magic than I am. I guess you can marry my daughter or whatever.
I'm having a really bad day now. Thanks, man.
This all happens in, like, the span of, like, 5 minutes. Like, the sorcerer's having the most anticlimactic day. So the color-changing princess was delighted to leave her father's house. She's like, he's been doing a bunch of really weird pranks on people for a long time. So yeah, like, take me away. And they have a wedding right then and there. And then they get into a carriage and they travel back to the prince's kingdom. As their carriage passed the cemetery, though, the old man said, hey, this is my stop. And he pulls the little lever thing that lets the driver know it's time to stop. Let somebody out. So the prince protested. He's like, no, you can come live with me in the castle. Like, not in the cemetery. What the fuck? And the old man says, oh, no, I gotta go. Listen, but before I go, we have to split what we earned. I did half of the work, so half of the bride is mine.
This fucking guy.
Before the prince could react, the old man grabbed the princess and tore her in half. What? You tried to call his bluff, and he said, I'm not bluffing, and he rips her in half.
What the fuck?
And from the wound,
No.
a snake a snake and a frog jumps out into the carriage.
What? What?
So the old man shoos them out of the carriage while the prince is screaming bloody murder. And then he's like, stop screaming. Just help me push her back together. And then he pushes her back together and she's healed. And when she came back to life, she was, quote, 1,000 times more beautiful than she had been before.
Oh, because she's not full of snake and frog now.
And now she's prettier. The old man winked and said, well, that was the last of the sorcerer's evil spirits. Goodbye.
What the fuck?
And then he tipped his imaginary hat and he started walking away.
What the fuck?
This is why I told this story.
This guy's a psycho.
Yes.
Wait, okay, did you already explain, is this the old man from the cemetery who was dead?
So the prince is like, where are you going to go now? And the old man says, back to my grave to rest in peace. So yeah, it's the old man from before.
Oh, a real, a Gandalf situation of, I've been sent back until my task is done kind of thing.
So the prince had paid his life debts, right? And then he said, now I've paid for my sins in the afterlife. And then he waves and he's like, pray for my soul. And then he swan dived back into his grave.
I love him. He's the worst.
He's so scary. I love to think that the carriage is now filled with blood. They have to just sit in it. And there's little frog footprints where it was hopping around.
Princess is just like, so, what do you like to do for fun?
My name is Ashley. So the prince returned home and he introduced his new wife to his mom, who was delighted with her stepdaughter because finally they had found someone that she could relate to with her weird problem.
Are they related?
I know. And they celebrated a second wedding and they lived happily ever after.
A second wedding?
Yeah, they had their first wedding with the sorcerer who was still confused. And then they had their second wedding with the mom.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
Okay. So, here's some notes. This is ATU type 505, The Grateful Dead.
What?
Yeah. The Grateful Dead is a fairy tale type, which now makes me like the band more. Chenga mentions that there is a darker version of this story from Hungarian folklorist Linda Dag, D-E with an accent mark, G-H. Where the main story is the same, but the man goes all corpse bride at the end, and, quote, it all ends in repeated corpse mutilation and exorcism.
Oh.
She said, it's a very good story for Halloween.
Of whom?
Who knows? That's the only detail. And I looked it up, and I can't find this anywhere, so I bought the book. So I'm going to get it later. But I am going to link Linda Dagg's version, or her story, her book, in the show notes, in case anybody else also wants to buy them. Chenga acknowledges that the color changing never actually happens in this story, right? Mm-hmm. But it's obviously super important to the story. It gets it moving. Dag suggested incestual themes in the queen's insistence to find a wife just like her.
Yeah.
But Chenga says, quote, everyone can make up their own mind about that. Which makes me think that Chenga doesn't really love that interpretation.
It's definitely weird to me. It feels a little bit like... Again, like Jules in Cougar Town having a weird and much too intense...
Unhealthy.
Yeah. Like, just being so possessive of your kid kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, personally, I read it more as your first thought when you were like, I don't think that she wants to give up the throne. I think that she thought that she was super unique and was like, he'll never find anyone like me. I'm the best. And then he went out and found somebody like her and she's like, fuck. Apparently I'm not special. That's a bummer.
Why wouldn't... But the only thing is, if that's her intention, why wouldn't she, do the research herself and make sure that there's nobody else?
Well, it did take him a while, but, I mean, I don't know. Chenga also says, this is my last note from Chenga, in the original tale, the old man uses a black mantle to make himself invisible. But she's like... Because she said she didn't put invisibility down as a power in this story. And she says the reason why is that the story kind of implies that no one can see him except for the prince anyway. And so she's like,
oh.
Yeah, because, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, the prince is seeing him disappear and stuff like that, but the sorcerer's never like, you're not the one doing this, you know? And so it feels like, she's like, he's obviously a ghost. He's obviously traveling. Nobody else interacts with him ever except for, the demons and other supernatural creatures. Mm-hmm. And so she says the invisibility... It seems like he's invisible anyway, so she didn't put that down as one of the powers listed in this.
But That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of got a Beetlejuice vibe.
It does. Like he's being like haunted.
Mm-hmm.
I really like a story where just a little bit into it, somebody casually rips a girl in half.
Yeah.
We have seen this before. We've seen with the story of
the three brothers with and they build the ship, and then they have all the guys, and he shoots in a whale in hell.
Yeah, that's the Bob White episode.
Yeah.
In the Bob White episode, we have the old man who's like, we have to split the prizes, and the woman is half the prize. But it's like, turns out to be like a weird little joke, which is a bad one. And I love that this one, we're also expecting it to still be a weird little old man joke, and then he rips her in half while the prince screams. That's good for me.
I just, like, unhinged.
Unhinged.
Hingeless.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of unhinged, there is a book that I learned about. It's called Unhinged. It's an erotic door novel.
Oh, no.
And the cover is just a white door. And it's the story. I'm going to tell you the story real quick. Guys, the story's over now, okay? Send your notes later. So, Unhinged. It's like a novella about a woman who moves into an apartment, and she has a creepy landlord who is creepy and keeps like getting into her apartment and like steals her underwear and stuff. And she's like, this guy is fucking creepy. But the novel is from the point of view of her door, who has fallen in love with her. And the door knows that the landlord is a serial killer who murdered the last woman that lived in this apartment because she rejected his advances. And the door is like, no, I love her. And so you get the point of view from the door, who's like, oh fuck, like she's definitely next. And he's watching the landlord sneak in and out and like steal stuff and set stuff up and like obsess over her. And then Zeus comes and Zeus says, hi, Dora, I'm your daddy. And I'm gonna grant you a wish. And the wish is that you can communicate with your lover, the person that you love, in your...
Oh, so he doesn't let him make a wish.
No. He says, I can't make you into a man, but I can give you the tools to do this yourself. So he's like, you can communicate with her in her dreams. And if you convince her to have sex with you as a door, not as a man, as a door in real life, then you'll become a man again. And then he goes into her dream and he's like, you're in danger, and also I love you, and maybe you fuck me as a door. And she's
maybe
like,
you slob on my knob.
And she's like, I'm not gonna slob on your knob. This is a dream and a weird one. And he's like, no, please. And then one day, after talking to the police who are doing an investigation of the previous woman who lived in her house.
Wait, who's talking to the police?
The girl.
Oh.
And she's like, well, fuck, he did tell me that somebody died in this apartment. I had a dream, like a weird premonition dream that somebody died in this apartment, and my landlord is very scary and all this stuff. And she's also very drunk. She's like, the worst that can happen is I have to go to the hospital with a doorknob in my vagina, so let's do it. So she has sex with the door, and the next day she wakes up and there's no door anymore, but there is a fancy man. And that's the book. It's called Unhinged. It's by Vera Valentine.
I'm going to pitch you a couple of phrases that I hope show up.
Okay, in the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Too hot to handle.
I like it. Okay. Oh, I wasn't ready. Yes.
Take your time.
Good. Okay.
Get slammed.
Okay. Knock on wood.
Oh.
Peephole.
Morning wood.
Sliding doors.
What?
It's just the movie that you like.
I do like that movie.
Okay, well, guys, that was a bonus second story. You're welcome.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah, Unhinged.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to really absorb all the information I just gave you.
I'm going to read that book.
Me too. I legitimately. She did another one. Hold on. She did another one that I was... Oh, I don't have my phone. And it was like a really fucking... It was another weird one. Like, she does really weird, unhinged, like, fucking erotic door novel. But, like, the other one was, like, equally as fucking weird. I'm going to look it up, and after the break, I will tell you
Sounds
what
like
the title is.
Yeah, sounds like a Chuck Tingle kind of situation.
It does sound like a Chuck Tingle situation, but also it kind of sounds weirdly interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of Chuck Tingle's books are genuinely very interesting.
Okay. Guys, we'll be right back. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Janey.
Okay. By the way, say, before we even begin, Max and I looked up Vera Valentine's website, and we found out that the other book that I was thinking of is Squeak, which is a balloon animal shifter romance. I guess the person has sex with a balloon animal, which sounds awful. But there are people with balloon fetishes, so I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. We also found out that the Door romance came out like a month ago.
Yeah.
So
Brand new.
Brand new.
Hot off the presses.
You guys, you're getting the exclusives here at Sort of the Story, and we might have to read them. So next book club, perhaps? Who knows?
What we like to do here at Sort of the Story is make sure that you're the first with your foot in the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh! It's great. Okay.
All right, Janey. The story that I have for you today, I purchased a couple of months ago, and I've been putting off actually using it because I'm too excited about it. Angela Carter has a collection of works in translation of Charles Perrault.
Cool.
So she was acted as a translator for a bunch of the folktales of Charles Perrault, but she kind of added her own spin on things. And this book has an intro by Jack Zipes. We really have we have the pantheon of some of our favorite folklorists.
Yeah,
in
we're
this
calling
episode.
in all the hits.
Yeah, Charles Perrault, Angela Carter, Jack Zipes, Chengazalga. We're hitting.
You need to somehow work
classics.
in Lafcadio Hearn and Diane Wolkstein.
Yeah.
And Andrew Lang.
I can't. That's too much.
Yeah.
But Jack Zipes in his intro for this kind of talks about Angela Carter, who I'm coming to terms with the fact is just one of my favorite authors of all time. She's so clever, and she has such cool sensibilities that just line up with exactly what I want to have happen in stories.
Yeah. She also is the author of the book of short stories that is our book club book of the month right now, which is
Month,
the bloody,
quote unquote.
Yeah, book of the time. It book of the club, and it is The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. If you want to buy that, it's also an adorable little book. It's really cool looking, and so it would look good on your shelf.
Yes, and I have linked that in the show notes for this episode because the story that I'm going to tell you today also appears in a different version.
Excellent.
So the story that I'm going to tell you today is the story of Puss in Boots.
Okay. Oh my God! This is exciting. I've never actually heard the story.
It's wild. So in Angela Carter's collection, Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, and Other Classic Fairy Tales of Charles Perrault, she retells the Charles Perrault version in a way that is very close to Charles Perrault's actual version.
Yeah.
Jack Zipes in his introduction talks a little bit about how Angela Carter sort of plays with Charles Perrault's ideas. To be sure, her own stories turn Perrault's tales inside out in defiant and definitive ways. Perrault may have been her, quote, fairy godfather, but Carter did not accept his, quote, magical gifts as a docile, obedient goddaughter. She was an unruly, mischievous child, and many of her own fairy tales were subversive renditions of his classical tales. So she takes a lot of his stories and tells them, event accurate, the same things happen,
yeah,
but also with an acknowledgement that he is from an earlier time and he does not share her sensibilities. And so she kind of tells exactly the same thing, but with a tone that indicates how she feels about it.
Love it. Love it.
She's great. I love her so much.
Retelling your grandfather's stories exactly, but with an eye roll.
Yeah. So she has this version in Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, and Other Classic Fairy Tales of Charles Perrault. She also has a version that is completely original in The Bloody Chamber. Her version in The Bloody Chamber acts as kind of like a sequel. Mm-hmm. It's based off of the same kind of subject matter, but it is a raucous, raunchy, super silly, super clever, alternate story of Puss in Boots. It's
exciting.
Great. So I read that version before I read the version in her work in translation, but I've also read the story of Puss in Boots before, and her version is very much lined up with how the story is presented in most cases. Mm-hmm. Also worth noting, in this collection, Angela Carter includes with each of her stories a moral. So she kind of is this is the moral of this story. And this is taken directly from Charles Perrault. In his collections of fairy tales, he would conclude everyone with a moral, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, or stuff like that. And so Angela Carter has done the same. And in many cases, she has sort of just rephrased the same thing that Charles Perrault said. But also in almost every case, she has given an alternative moral. And it's very funny, where it's yes, children, you should always be kind to strangers because you never know who they are. They might be, a fairy who will grant your wishes. Mm-hmm. And she's her alternative moral is something yeah, you shouldn't be mean to strangers.
Yeah.
Or you'll die. Like, just, they could murder you on the road.
Don't be too nice.
Yeah. So, it's great.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to tell her morals for this story at the end. But there once was an old miller.
Mm-hmm.
He had 3 sons. And then the miller died.
Deadbeat dad.
No, just dead dad.
Deadbeat dad alert!
No, just dead.
Fucking stay alive and take care of your children, Miller. Did he die of old age? I don't know. How'd he die?
Of old age.
Deadbeat dad!
Just dead. The miller dies and he leaves his 3 sons. All he has to his name is his mill,
Yeah.
his ass, his donkey, his ass, and his cat.
Mm-hmm.
And his 3 sons are like, well, how are we going to split this up? And they realize that they're just going to have to, like, the mill is going to go to the oldest brother, and because it's the most useful thing. And then the donkey is going to go to the middle brother because it's the second most useful thing. And then the youngest brother gets the cat. Because
the youngest brother's like, I don't even like cats.
I don't like cats.
Which is my motto as I go around this house getting fucking yelled at all day, every day. These terrible cats.
So, and it explains that they had to figure this out for themselves, how the inheritance was going to work, because if they had hired a lawyer to execute the will, it would have eaten up any remaining funds that they had from their father and basically made it a moot point.
Yeah.
Which is just a little bit funny. I think that that's just Angela Carter being hilarious.
Yeah.
All of them are, like, dissatisfied. They're all like, okay, well, this isn't really a whole lot to live on. But, like, the oldest one is like, all right, I guess I'm a miller now. And so he starts to, like, make his living.
Mm-hmm.
The middle one is like, all right, I have a donkey. And so he's able to, like, move goods and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he's able to kind of set himself up a little bit. The youngest, though, is like, what the fuck am I going to do with a cat?
They're like, all right, well, I'm a fucking slave to this rude creature now. All day, every day, he just yells at me and demands I clean his poop up.
Every night he licks his butthole so loudly.
Like, you could go in any other room.
But the youngest brother's like, what the fuck am I going to do with this cat? And he's frustrated and he muses aloud to himself. He's like, well, content warning for animal violence for this entire story.
Okay, got it.
Whole story. He's like, well, I mean, the only thing I can think of to do with this cat is skin it and then make the fur into a little hand warmer for maybe, like, one of my hands because he's a really tiny cat.
Well, then why use it at all?
And then eat what little meat there is on this cat. And then, tomorrow I'll be hungry again. And that's the best I can do. Which doesn't seem...
No, and also cats are great. People had cats back then to, like, get rid of, like,
rats and stuff.
Vermin. Yeah.
But the cat hears this and is like, oh, shit, okay, I gotta sort of prove myself really quickly here before I get skinned and eaten. But he pretends he did not hear his master say this. And he says, Master, don't fret. Give me a bag and a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Title of story. To protect my little feet in the thorny undergrowth. And you'll see that your father hasn't provided for you so badly after all. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you gotta give me some little boots and a little bag and then I'll show you how cool I am and good.
Did the guy know he could talk before this?
Unclear.
He can now sell him to the circus.
But the youngest son has seen this cat and he's seen him hunt before and he knows that this cat is very clever. He's seen him, like, lay traps for mice and stuff like that. Aww. So he's like, maybe he is useful. We'll give him a chance. So he gives him a little pair of boots and a little sack. And he's like, all right, go show me what you can do. So Puss in Boots goes out into the forest and he finds a rabbit warren. Again, huge content warning for this whole story for animal violence. He finds a rabbit warren and he takes his little sack and he fills it with all of these, like, juicy weeds that he finds in the forest and little bits of, like, bran and, like, little things that carrots like to... little things that rabbits like to eat.
Terrifying. Little things that carrots like to consume. That was a good carrot eating voice.
Thanks. Little things that rabbits like to eat. And he puts them all in the bag and he, like, stuffs them all the way to the bottom of the bag. And then he, like, puts the bag on the ground and then he lies down next to the bag and pretends to be dead. So he lays down next to the bag, he pretends to be dead, and then he waits. And eventually the smell of all of this delicious grass and weeds and stuff wafts down into the warren, and a little baby bunny comes out looking for a snack. And he comes up and he sees the bag, and then he sees the cat next to the bag, and he's like, no, and he like starts to turn away, but he sees that the cat isn't like moving or anything, and he's like, this cat just came here with this delicious bag of vegetables and then died. Lucky day for me, a little bunny. And so the bunny hops up and crawls into the bag and starts to eat his fill, and immediately Puss in Boots springs up, seals the bag, and then, horrifying, snaps the rabbit's neck inside the bag. And then he slings the sack over his shoulder, and he walks to the castle of the king. Yes. He goes up to the guards outside of the castle, and he says, hello, I am here with a gift for the king. And the guards are like, sure.
Right this way, sir.
And they bring him inside to the king's apartments, and Puss in Boots goes up to the king, and he says, sire, may I present you with a delicious young rabbit that my master, the Marquis de Carabas, ordered me to offer you with his humblest compliments. Also, Angela Carter specifically says, she's like, also, he had decided that his master was going to be called the Marquis of Carabas. He had not consulted his master about this. He just decided that that was his name now. So the king gratefully accepts this rabbit.
Oh, rabbit.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's such a cat gift to give. It's like, master, or king, for you, a present from my master. It just starts like coughing up like bits of bird and hair. For you.
What do you think? He just brings him like a dead frog.
What do you think of this?
Pretty good, huh?
You don't eat that all at once. You're gonna want to like portion that out. Pretty fat bird.
But the king is thrilled about this gift, and he says, tell your master that I thank him with all my heart.
Wow, nobody's ever nice to this king, huh?
I was thinking this too. It's like this guy's just hanging out, and then like someone he's never met before is like, hey, here's a humble but very nice present. The king's like, oh my God, thank you so much. Nobody ever thinks to just bring him a present. He deserves a little present sometimes.
It's not even my birthday.
But he's thrilled with this gift, and so Puss in Boots returns home. The next day, Puss in Boots goes out with his sack and his little boots out into a cornfield, and he sprinkles some corn inside of the sack, and he sits it open on the ground, and then he lays down next to the bag and pretends to be dead. And he sits and he waits until 2 partridges land on the bag and start to pick at the corn, and then in one swift movement he bundles up the bag and seals it, and then he kills the partridges inside, and then he throws it over his shoulder and he walks back up to the castle and he says, hello, I am here with another gift for the king. And the guards are like, well, come on in, welcome back. And he brings his gift of partridges to the king, and he says, my lord, my master, the Marquis de Carabas, has asked me to give you this humble gift and hopes that you will enjoy this at your dinner table tonight. And the king is like, thank you so much. This is so nice. Twice in a row. Oh my God. And he even gives Puss in Boots a little tip. He gives him like a little gold coin, and he is like, thank you very much. So this continues for like 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Every day Puss in Boots goes out and he collects, what's the word? He goes out and he collects, like, game meat and brings it to the king with the compliments of his master, the Marquis of Carabas. And every day the king is like, thank you so much. And, like, they, like, basically become friends. Yeah. And since Puss in Boots is hanging around the castle sometimes now, he hears that the king is planning on going on a lovely drive with his daughter, the beautiful princess. And they're planning out a couple of days out. They're just going to take their carriage down by the river and go for a nice, like, father-daughter drive. Yeah. Which is kind of sweet.
That is kind of nice.
I kind of like this king a little bit. Yeah. He's kind of doing all right. And so Puss goes back to his master and he says, here's what you're going to do. I got you all set up, right? Yeah. You're going to go down to the river at a specific place, and I'm going to tell you where, and you're going to take a bath in the river. Okay? And then just await further instructions.
All right, here's what I'm going to need you to do. Whip your junk out, jump in a lake. Got it? Don't fuck it up.
Just don't fuck it up.
Whip your junk out, jump in a lake, wait for further instructions. And he's like, well, if my cat told me to do it, then I better try.
And then he's arrested for public indecency.
And the cat gets to live in the house all by himself.
That's what you get for trying to eat your cat.
Yeah.
So his master is like, well, all right. So at the designated date and time, he goes out to the river.
Whips his junk out.
Takes off all of his clothes, jumps in the river, swims around for a little while. Puss in Boots, meanwhile, is hiding out on the riverbank a little ways upriver.
Yeah.
The carriage carrying the king and his daughter, the beautiful princess, rolls down the road, and Puss, like, winds up and, like, throws himself out into the road and is like, please help! My master, he's drowning! The Marquis de Carabas! And the king is like, oh my god, the Marquis de Carabas, my best friend who I've never met! And he jumps out of the carriage and he orders his servants to run down to the river and save the Marquis. And so all of these servants run into the river and grab this, the youngest brother out of the river and help him out. And the youngest brother's like, wow, thank you. And meanwhile, Puss is with the king and he is like, at last you get to meet my master. I'm so sorry it's under such terrible circumstances. He was just going for a swim in the river and then some robbers came by and stole all of his clothes. And I said, no, don't do that to my master, the Marquis de Carabas. But they did anyways because I'm just a little cat. What was I supposed to do?
Was his plan to impress them, to show them his junk? Was he like part of it?
That seems like it might be part of it. I'm pretty sure that's part of it.
I need him to be completely nude when he meets them. Because if they see him in his normal, like, everyday attire, they're going to be like, ew, peasant.
Yes. Okay, that is the plan,
That
actually.
is the plan. But also then they're like, also they'll see he has a huge hog.
Yep. And so he's like, my master's clothes were stolen. And the king is like, no problem. You know, like, I have so many clothes back at my castle. So he sends one of his servants back to his castle and he's like, get the Marquis the finest clothes in my closet. We're going to get him dressed up in the station that he has earned. You know, like, clearly whatever clothes he was wearing before must have been very nice. So I just hope that my silly kingly rags will be good enough for my new friend. So one of the servants runs back to the king's castle and grabs his favorite outfit and then brings it back. And the Marquis de Carabas gets dressed up in the kingly clothes. And he looks, you know, he's freshly bathed.
Yeah,
he's wearing
clean.
a new outfit. He looks very noble. And the beautiful princess thinks to herself, wow, what an attractive man.
And I already know he's working with a great piece of pipe.
So the Marquis is like, oh, my king, thank you so much. You are so kind. Like, the clothes fit perfectly. You have amazing taste. And the king is like, oh, stop it. Oh, my God. Anything for you. And the king is like, well, my daughter and I were just going for a ride. Why don't you come with us? You know, you can dry off. We'll see the sights a little bit. And the Marquis is like, oh, I couldn't. And the king is like, oh, please. And he's like, well, all right. So the princess, the king, and the Marquis all ride off in the carriage together.
What about the cat?
Puss, meanwhile, runs ahead on the road, and he gets a little ways ahead of them, and he sees that they are going to pass this, like, flower meadow that is being taken care of by a group of peasants. And he runs up to the peasants and he says, hey, the king's about to come by here. He's going to ask who owns this meadow, and you're going to say, the Marquis of Carabas, or I'm going to turn you into mincemeat. And all the peasants are like, what the fuck?
Oh my god, it's a talking cat.
And then he's like, yeah, I'll fucking kill you. So just say what I say to say. And they're like, okay, God. And then Puss runs back and walks with the carriage, and the carriage pulls up to the meadow, and the king is like, look at all those beautiful flowers. Who owns this beautiful meadow? And all of the peasants in unison are like, the Marquis of Carabas owns this meadow. And the king is like, oh my God, you didn't tell me this was yours. And the Marquis is like, oh, well, of course it is. And what a fine yield we're having this year. And the king is like, oh, congratulations. And then they ride on.
Yeah.
Puss runs ahead again and gets up to a cornfield. And he sees that there are peasants working in the cornfield. And he runs up to them and he's like, hey, the king's going to come by here. And he's going to ask, who owns this cornfield? And you're going to say the Marquis de Carabas, or I'm going to turn you into mincemeat. And they're like, what's mincemeat? And he's like, bad. Claws and blood. And they're like, oh no.
What a bad cat.
And then he runs back to the carriage, and the king rides up, and he's like, oh, look at this. This cornfield is having an amazing yield. Since you're like neighbors to this field, do you happen to know who owns it? And the Marquis is like, well, and then all of the peasants are like, the Marquis de Carabas owns it.
The Market of Carbonara. My lord.
Carabas, the Italian family restaurant.
I corroborate the market.
What do you think?
Don't kill us, cat.
And the king is like, oh my god, this is yours as well. And the Marquis is like, well, I don't want to brag, but yes, it is. And the king is like, incredible. You have such beautiful lands. And the Marquis is like, oh, so do you. And then they ride on.
Yeah.
Puss runs ahead once again, and he comes to a massive, beautiful castle. Mm-hmm. This is the castle of an evil ogre. And all of the lands that they had passed that Puss had claimed belonged to the Marquis actually belonged to this very wealthy, very evil ogre who lived in a big, beautiful castle.
Yeah.
Puss goes into the castle, and one of the servants is like, can I help you? And he's like, yes, I'm a little cat. I was traveling.
Meow, meow, meow.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow. He's like, I'm a little cat. I was traveling. I saw this big, beautiful castle, and it's just so lovely that I wanted to pay my respects to the owner and tell him what a lovely castle he has. And the servant's like, okay, let me go get him. And then the ogre comes and is like, I heard you have compliments for me. And Puss is like, this is an incredible castle. And the ogre's like, well, come on, I'll give you the grand tour and everything.
He doesn't
and he shows
seem
him
so
around.
evil.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't seem evil at all. It just seems like maybe he has a castle that someone else wants.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Yes. So the ogre makes Puss as welcome as an ogre can make a little cat in his castle.
Yeah.
And Puss is like, this is crazy, but I actually heard a rumor that you have magic powers. And the ogre is like, what? No, I don't. And Puss is like, well, I heard a rumor that you can turn yourself into any kind of animal. Like you can turn yourself into an elephant or a lion. And the ogre's like, where did you hear that? It's true. And Puss is like, are you pulling my leg? And the ogre's like, no, it's true. I'll show you. And he turns into a giant lion.
Yeah.
And he roars right in Puss's face.
Yeah.
And Puss jumps straight up and like hooks into the ceiling and then almost falls because he's still wearing his little boots. So he can't get a foothold. So he's just hanging by his little front paws on the ceiling and shaking. And he's like, wow, that's pretty good. Pretty convincing. And then the lion turns back into the ogre and he's like, see, aren't I so magical? And Puss drops down from the ceiling and he's like, that was very impressive. I never would have believed that you could do that. But the rumors also say that, and this would be even crazier. So if this isn't true, I'm sure this isn't true. But I've also heard that you can turn yourself into like tiny creatures, like a little rat or a little mouse or something. Mm-hmm. And the ogre is like, well, I'm very powerful. And the Puss in Boots is like, oh, so you can. Okay, I knew that was silly. And the ogre's like, well, I didn't say that. And then he turns himself into a little mouse. And then Puss runs up and eats him. And then he goes around the castle really quickly, makes sure that everything is all in order, and runs back out to the carriage. Yeah. And the Marquis and the King and the Princess are in the carriage, and they are riding past this castle. Mm-hmm. And the King is like, oh my god, what a beautiful castle. And the Marquis is like, yes, it is. And then Puss runs out across the drawbridge and is like, master, you're home. And the Marquis is like, yes, this is my house. And the King's like, this is your house? And he's like, yes. And Puss is like, yes, this is the castle of the Marquis de Carabas. The King is like, well, I don't want to overstep, but your house is beautiful. I'd love to see the inside. And the Marquis is like, well, please come on in. So they all go inside, and, the Marquis, led by Puss, who has been through the castle once, is like, and here's it's a dining room. Here's the dining room. And the King at every turn is like, oh my god, this castle is gorgeous. And the Princess is amazed at how many like beautiful things the Marquis has. Yeah. She's like, this is a beautiful home. And the Marquis is like, yes, it is, and it's mine.
Don't ask me any more about it, though, because I'm shy.
Yep. I don't like to brag.
I'm so shy.
Or know any facts about my house.
I hate knowing anything about where I live.
And then Puss is like, my king, we happen to have a lovely banquet laid out. Would you like to join us for some supper? And the King is like, oh, I don't want to intrude. And Puss is like, no, please. And they go out, and Angela Carter specifically says, she's like, the ogre had invited some friends over for dinner and laid out a big, beautiful banquet for all of them. But then they showed up for dinner and they saw that the King was there, and they all got scared and ran away. So there's this big, beautiful banquet laid out at the table, and nobody has shown up. Yeah. And the Marquis is like, please, my king, my lady, please have a seat. Let's have some dinner. And they all hang out around the dinner table and drink fancy wines that the ogre has prepared for his dinner party. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And after a couple of glasses of wine, the king is like, you know what you should be? You should be my son-in-law.
Classic.
And the princess is like, agreed. And the Marquis is like, well, okay. So the Marquis marries the princess with the blessing of the king.
Mm-hmm.
They live together in this castle that I guess now belongs to him.
That nobody comes to check on. Like, the friends were just like, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Bye.
And once the quote-unquote Marquis, the youngest son, had become a king in his own right, Puss in Boots was made into a great lord and gave up hunting mice, except for pleasure.
Aw.
The end.
That was adorable.
Yep.
That was super cute.
And very violent.
It was adorable. It was violent. Again, in true, I mean, we've been like this since the very beginning of this, but the ogres are rarely ever actually wrong.
No.
Ogres and
He didn't do
trolls,
nothing wrong.
rarely actually a problem. He literally did nothing wrong. There was no questions.
No.
Just seemed like he had land that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking colonizers.
Yep.
But it was pretty great.
Dang.
I'm happy to know the origin, like the actual, like, story of Puss in Boots now.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
So this is actually a very old fairy tale. The Charles Perrault version is one of the later tellings.
Mm-hmm.
The earliest written version that we have is from Giovanni Francesco Straparola, who I think is also... Straparola, which I think he's also one of the original tellers of Cinderella.
I've never heard of him.
He's a folklorist from Italy, and I think that one of the, like, Parsinella, no, that's not.
Yeah, that's Rapunzel.
Rapunzel. I think he's one of the original Rapunzel tellers.
Oh, okay.
But in his collection of stories, Constantino Fortunato, he has a Puss in Boots story, which this was published in 1550.
Mm-hmm.
Giambattista Basile in 1634 published Cagliuso, which is another Italian version of this story. Mm-hmm. And then in the 1690s, Charles Perrault published this French version of Puss in Boots, which is originally titled The Master Cat or Puss in Boots.
Charles Perrault was from 1690?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Yeah, he was in the 1600s.
I thought he was like 1800s.
Mm-mm.
That's wild.
Yeah. This is tail type ATU 545B, Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots. Hey, mine was also in the 500s. Mine was 505.
Oh.
Puss in Boots.
It's under the tail type 545, the cat as helper.
Okay.
But it has its own tail type.
So Keys of the
545B.
Cat would be in 505.
Yeah, probably. 545.
545. The cat is helper.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm really into it. I'm also really excited to have told this story because now I get to show you a bunch of pictures of Puss in Boots.
Yes.
But before I do that, I'm going to give you the moral of the story as presented by Angela Carter.
Okay.
The first moral, which is in line with Charles Perrault's original moral, is a great inheritance may be a fine thing, but hard work and ingenuity will take a young man further than his father's money.
But he didn't do any hard work.
This is Charles Perrault's moral
Okay.
that Angela is like reframing.
Yeah.
The additional moral that Angela Carter would also like to include is, if a miller's son can so quickly win the heart of a princess, that is because clothes bearing in youth speedily inspire affection, and the means to achieve them are not always entirely commendable.
Good.
She's like, he didn't earn shit. Don't trust people just because they're dressed well.
Yeah.
And she's right.
She is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that comes up in so many fairy tales of, like, we're supposed to really root for these people that literally would have died if somebody else hadn't done all the work for them.
Yeah.
And it was just because they are princes, or it's just because they are men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's literally just like white men. It's like your story about the guy who has to go rescue the princess from the devil, and he's like hiding, and he only does it because of that old woman, and then she gets murdered later, and it's like, that's just part of it. It's like, no, he should have died.
Yes.
Everyone in that story should have died except for the old woman, the only smart one.
And now I'm going to show you all of these lovely Puss in Boots pictures.
She's just showing me clips from the movie Shrek.
Just go ahead and scroll that way.
Oh, what a fancy little gentleman. He looks like Benjamin Franklin. He's dressed like Benjamin Franklin. He's standing on some books, and he has little glasses on the end of his nose, and it says, Le Chat Bot.
Botte.
Le Chat Botte. Yeah, little, pen and ink illustration. Love it. Ah! This one is scary. This one is a cat wearing fancy boots with, like, scalloped ends, and he has a mouse hanging from his belt, and a little bag with a mouse tail poking out of it, and he has both of his hands in the air, and he's waving them like he just don't care. He's got a cape on, and behind him, peeking through the brushes, is the most terrifying man I have ever seen in my whole life. He's grinning from ear to ear, and he has black little teeth. I'm guessing that's the Marquis. This is terrifying. The next one is a colored illustration of a man looking bored. He's sitting at a table with, like, man spreading like crazy. There's blood everywhere. What the hell? There is blood everywhere, and he's looking at a little cat who's doing a little dance on its hind legs for him. The cat is also covered in blood.
Wait, I'm not seeing any blood. Oh. Aw, he probably killed a mouse.
That's too much blood for a mouse. That's all over the floor. It's splattered and tracked, and then it's all over the cat, and there's a little bit on the Marquis as well. Oh boy.
He's got a little bow on those, but still cute.
Oh god. And the next one is a cat pretending to be dead in a field with a bunch of little bunnies around him and a scarecrow in the back. And the next one is just a man with a cat, and it says, "Do not grieve, dear master." He looks like he's grieving, and little cat is so fluffy and so cute.
I cannot not read "Do not grieve, my master," except in like a very deep man voice. And I love that tiny little puffball kitten being like, "Do not grieve, my master."
Dear master, stop your crying.
Meow. I just love all of the illustrations of this cat.
Yeah, they're all great. Fantastic, Max. I'm happy to know that.
Yes, it's a fun one. And like I said, in The Bloody Chamber, Angela Carter does like kind of a sequel story that is much raunchier. It's like a sex comedy about a cat.
Hell yeah. Oh no.
It's great. It's really funny.
I'm excited to get to it.
And if you guys also want to read that, you can read that book for our book club. Come and hang out with us on the Discord and we'll talk about it with you and it'll be great.
It'll be so good.
So,
okay. Well, awesome. Well, that was another one in the books.
Yeah. From the books.
From the books. Next week, we are going to be dropping episode 100.
Whoa, whoa.
How exciting.
Very exciting.
And if you want to be a part of future live episodes and future question and answers and just future conversations about the stories and many other topics, then consider joining our Discord by joining the Patreon at the $3 level or joining at the $7 level and getting Discord access plus bonus episodes. And yeah, we like you guys so much.
We do.
We just like you. So rate and review this podcast, please. Give it 5 stars and have a great week. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Testing. Oh, here we are. Are we testing again? I don't even know what that was.
I don't either. Was that an accent?
Who knows? Maybe I just got possessed.
Oh. Episode 99. Oh my god.
99, feeling fine. How you feel?
99?
99. Oh, we should have done cop-themed stories. Or not.
Probably not.
We could have done that awesome.
Mine would have been rude no matter what.
No matter what. We could have done that awesome story that you told about the young maiden who has a chief for a father who marries a bunch of monsters.
That was a good episode.
That was a good episode. Go listen to episode 23, guys. You liked him in that one.
Yeah. The 3 little pigs.
Oh, that would have been a good cop theme episode.
Yeah.
Well, we've dunked on the police, and I think we done tested.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. You know what I was thinking? You should do a series one day where you just drop new cryptids. That could be your off-topic series. Just 30 minutes. This is a new cryptid. This is what it looks like. These are its stats. That's it.
That would be fun, but the problem is that if I go out looking for cryptids, I never find any good ones. It only works if I stumble across them.
You could do the main ones. I mean, there are so many people who don't have just the cursory, like, info, you know? Where it's just like, I've heard of, like, literally, and this is going to sound so basic, but I've heard of Bigfoot, and I know literally nothing about it except for that blurry picture, you know? Like, things like that. Not me, personally, but, like, you could literally just do, and this is your Cryptid 101. And then your next series could be, and this is your cryptid 102.
201.
Nope. We're going to go through the foundation studies first. Might be fun. I feel like also that's pretty accessible. You know, it's like here are the non-scary ones but also the ones that you're probably too scared to ask for because everybody's heard of Mothman at this point. Everybody's heard of Bigfoot at this point.
Yeah. I'm going to write something down really quickly.
She's writing down, Janey's boobs look great today. Oh, now she's just circling something. The word boobs, perhaps.
Tried some big old titties. 88. 80,085. 80,085.
Boobs.
Yeah.
It's not 80,000. It's just 8,000. Oh, you're right. It is 80,000.
Yeah, that's what I just did.
I always put the 8. Why did I put a decimal?
Boob apostrophe S.
Boob, comma, S.